Anytime I thought about approaching a girl, I would always get extremely anxious. My chest would get tight, my hands would get a little sweaty, I would start like almost shaking a little bit. And it felt like anytime I would get kind of closer to her, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna approach her, I would just start like just heart beating on my chest. But then it's like, all right, okay, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna wait. She's on her phone right now. I wait till the next moment she's free. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do it. As soon as I start walking towards her, game over. I'm over here anxious. And then eventually this cycle continues over and over and over to the point where the day ends. Another day goes by of me not approaching her. If that sounds like you, I genuinely, and I mean I genuinely empathize with you, as I'm not going to lie to you, this is something that I still do struggle with to this day. But ultimately, there is a mindset shift that I have started to develop when it comes to rejection, when it comes to approaching people, and ultimately, that this mindset so far has allowed me to actually become more free. It has allowed me to actually look at social interactions as almost this game where I'm kind of smiling in a sense when I get rejected. Whether that is me trying to initiate a call, or me trying to approach a girl I see at work, or maybe even me just something as simple as just applying myself somewhere. Getting rejected now almost feels like something I'm kind of happy to experience. And this is how. Imagine, for example, you have a building. You own a building, and in this building, you have a scanner. You want to make sure that the people that are in there in the building are good. You don't want anything to happen, God forbid. So there's a line of people. This person walks in, they're good. Other person walks in, she's good. This other person walks in, he's good. There's one other person now walks in. Scanner starts going off. Beep, 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 beep. You have a decision. You could either say to yourself, I'm going to stop you. We're going to check you. You have to go through the scanner again. If it beeps again, if it keeps beeping, we're going to have to remove you from the situation. We're going to have to remove you from the building. Or you could say, you know what? Hey, it's fine. You can go through. You're good. You can go through. What do you think will happen eventually over time? Now, I hope it doesn't happen, but let's just be real. If you let the person who beeps, at the scanner, if you let him in, let's be real, there's a higher chance of something bad happening. I'm not going to say it on YouTube. I don't want to, but I think you kind of know what might happen. Just in general, something might happen. The same way how we look at that, the same way how we want to protect our building that we have and protect the customers and ultimately their life as well, is the same way that we should look at our own body, the way we should look at our own life. The people that we interact with, the media that we consume, the girls that we approach, the conversations we have. We want to make sure that these things are ultimately good for us, that we're not letting in BS people, that we're not letting in this. And you're probably wondering how this links to rejection. Imagine if you get rejected by a girl and you still keep persisting. Still keep persisting, and let's say somehow, some way, you end up getting her contact information. She budges. She's like, you know what? All right, fine. You can have my number. She gives you her number, and now you're over here messaging her and kind of, still pursuing it and whatnot. And let's just say, you might have learned some pickup. You might have, did some manipulation tactics. You learned from TikTok how to, dark manipulation. And let's say you get her now. She's hooked onto you. Is it in a healthy way? No, but let's just say she hooked onto you now. She's interested in whatnot. She's talking to you. She's talking to you now. Ultimately, even though you got her now from going from just getting rejected, flat out rejected, to keep persisting and now you got her, what if now you guys get in a relationship or you guys start messing with each other and now it's bad for you? What if you really found out about her actual personality and you realize, yeah, I actually don't really like her as much. I don't really like these traits. We have different values. She does this, she does that. I don't like this. She doesn't like that I does this and, and whatnot. Ultimately, that time that you had spent, not only just trying to get her, but actually spending time with her, was you letting in that person. It was you letting in that person that beeped through the scanner the first go around. As soon as you went in, she started beeping, but you still said, you know what, you can come in though. You can come in the building. And now what does that do? It messes you up. It messes up the life that you have. Maybe you had some goals going on for you. Maybe you had a specific vision that, let's be real, we all get blessed with a specific vision that might sound a little goofy to other people. It might sound, to people who don't dream well or people who aren't open to that. It might sound a little goofy to say, oh, I want to be a traveler, or I want to live my life this specific way. And let's say this person now is influencing that, saying, oh, this is dumb, you shouldn't live like this, or hey, you should do this and that. And then ultimately now you get off course. If you with this person for, let's say, 8 months, you were going on course, steady course, and now you start deviating. Now you start deviating off course. And the reason why I'm going back is because ultimately, there will be opportunities for you to go back and correct course. But especially if you don't, well, then you're just going to go off and off and off and off and off and off until you fast forward 40 years later, and you're stuck with her, or if maybe she broke up with you, but you kind of messed up your life now. You went down a bad path, and you're there. You're here now. Look, at the end of the day, rejection is simply a filter. That's what I'm realizing, that rejection is simply a filter. It is to filter out exactly who is supposed to be in your life and who isn't supposed to be in your life. And rejection can happen at any level. For example, last week, I approached my work crush, and I asked her. I simply just, was honest. Hey, you're beautiful. I was wondering if I can get your number. She's married. So I got hit. Oh my God, I thought someone was right there. I got hit with a rejection at the first layer. Even though I got hit with the first rejection at the layer, I'm not going to lie. Like, yes, okay, I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, I did feel a little like, especially if you watch the video, video will be linked. If you know, like what was leading up to that. But, it was a little disappointing. But at the end of the day, I knew that, okay, well, she's married. Or even if she was feeling me, and all that, it would have been caused more problems. Who knows? But even if, maybe not, maybe you do get a girl's number. Maybe you even go on a date or two with her, but ultimately, you might, get rejected. You might kind of be like, you know what, I'm not really feeling this and that. I'm going to just cut it off. And even though, like, I understand it could hurt, I genuinely understand, like, as a person that is now starting to cold approach and that's starting to socialize with more people, I'm not going to lie and still say, like, I don't get a little bit fearful of not only just potentially getting approached, but, or rather rejected, but just like the emotions of letting it sit afterwards. But what I realize is that it is the stories you tell yourself. Rejection is a neutral thing in itself. It's about how you interact with it, how you deal with it, your perspective on it. If you look at it from the standpoint of, all right, well, this is simply, this person telling me that I'm not good enough and that, they're insulting me and this and that, well, then you're going to have a negative approach with not only just with that person, not only with future people, but ultimately yourself as well. You're going to feel like you need, and don't get it twisted, we should always, strive to improve ourselves 100%, but you're going to do it from a place of so much hurt that it's like, even if you get that body, even if you get the revenge glow up, you're still going to feel just soulless inside. You're going to feel empty inside. Because you're not doing it from a place of actually wanting to improve yourself in love. Or if you look at it from the perspective of, you know what, this person and I simply are compatible for whatever reason. Like, it probably doesn't have to do anything with me, if we're being honest with you. It could be just any other reason. Maybe she's just having a bad day. Maybe she's just nervous. Maybe she don't have a freaking iPhone and you said, hey, we should, FaceTime and all that. She doesn't want to tell you that she doesn't have an iPhone. I don't know, whatever, just random excuse and, reasoning rather, like whatever, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what reasoning it is. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if it's a rejection, it probably wasn't meant to be. For some reason, especially if she's over here kind of like roasting you. Like, let's say a girl just calls you short, even if you're not really that short, but let's say a girl, even if you are really short, screw it. Let's say you're like 5'2". If a girl calls you short and she rejects you, saying like, oh, you're short, this and that, would you want to be with a girl that calls you short like that? Especially in that tone, would you want to be with a girl that, like, forget like the example of you approaching her? Would you just want to be with a person that just does that? No. So then why would you want to continue pursuing someone that in a way disrespected you, that maybe disrespected your dreams, that disrespected the vision that you have? It just doesn't, and I can understand it, because even when I was a kid, I would still get disrespected and I would still continue being friends with them because I was just so lonely. I thought that rejection meant like I won't get no more anything. Like, if I reject this, then it's GG's. And I think because of that mindset that we had when we were younger, a lot of us guys, we carry that into our adulthood. And that's why we end up putting up with some BS that we don't really want to put up with, because we feel like we don't have any options. Because truth be told, yes, like with guys, the options are very, very limited. I'm not going to BS, as I still feel like to this day, it's like, I'm not really getting as many options, and, it's going to continuously improve over time. But I understand that. I completely understand that. But at the end of the day, Rejection is simply just a filter. It is a filter to see who belongs to your life, who doesn't. And when you look at it from that mindset, you can almost start smiling in a sense, looking at it like, all right, for sure. Like, you don't really take it as personal. For example, I was on a call. I was on a group call with some people that I met. I wanted to socialize more, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna start doing it. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, if I'm just being honest, I didn't, it it didn't really click right away. It didn't really click. It was like, all right, like it was cool people to talk to, but it wasn't like we really clicked. So it's like, all right, cool. Like I didn't, overthink. I didn't take it as personal. Honestly, this is my first time thinking about it since that happened. You know what I mean? Like, truth be told. Absolutely, truth be told, like that's been the first time. And I think the reason why, once again, is because I'm looking at it from the mindset of like, you know what, if we get rejected, we get rejected. There's too many people out here to worry about one particular person, one particular girl, when there is, I mean, what's that one statistic? Like even if 1% of people like you, that's 75 million people. Think about that. Imagine if you were in a line with 75 million people, you wouldn't even really get across through it. Like that's insane. That is literally that is actually insane. So, yeah, man, looking at rejection from that mindset, I know it sounds kind of corny, especially if you're in this kind of mindset I was for sure of like feeling all right, you're saying this, but it doesn't really, but I promise, like, I really do promise, like, this mindset right here that I've started to implement is working. Worked so much to the point where today is Friday the 12th. I'm actually gonna join a yoga meeting today, like just randomly out the blue, a yoga meeting out of all places. Now, I'm not gonna lie, a little bit of it is, to socialize with women, but also because I was like, you know what, I want to just socialize and try new things. Let me just go to a random yoga event, like at a LA Fitness with this person. Let me just see, just catch a vibe. I might catch a cramp as well. I'm not gonna lie to you, I might catch a cramp as well, but nevertheless, creating more of those stories. And even though I might get rejected at some level, whether it's me actually approaching the girl and, trying to talk it up and say, hey, Instagram, boom, 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 and then she says no, or whether it's, I don't know, I get rejected from the group, whatever the case may be, there is still a level of rejection in everything, whether it's social. I know we're talking about with girls. So at that point, I'm looking at this with a smile. I'm going in, I'm gonna have good energy with a smile. I'm actually gonna get a haircut today as well. So God, Lord knows I need it, but I'm going to be good. I'm going to just be me authentically. I'm going to be me authentically. I'm going to have fun. And if it's a good time and it's something, especially if I find someone I want to continue talking with, 100%, we're going to do that. If not, if I'm myself, but the energy ain't really there, most definitely, I will move on to the next group. I'll move on to the next girls, so that's kind of the mindset. And when you have that mindset, it almost makes you want to socialize. It almost makes you want to socialize even more now, because it's like you want to just almost breeze through. Like when you get rejected, it's like, all right, well, on to the next. Like you kind of have that mindset. And it's like the time that you go from feeling sad of being rejected to the time of you approaching that new person or approaching that new situation, the time gets shortened more and more, because you're not like staying stagnant. You're not like sitting in that emotion and drawing it out for like, months or even years, as some guys do. So yeah, that right there is going to be the end of the video. Let me know in the comment section below how you feel about this. Click the video on the screen to watch more, and I will see you in the next video, man. Peace, 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 peace.